Before I start my speech, I would like to invite four of my friends and ask them a few questions about discrimination in a classroom by allowing them to put their hand up if it had happened to them. The first question is, put your hand up if you have been discriminated against of your religion. Put your hand up if you have been discriminated on your culture. Put your hand up if you have been discriminated on your location. Put your hand up if you have been discriminated on because of your money. And finally, put your hand up if you have been discriminated against your gender. Thank you. Hearing that I had to pick a philosophy was daunting at first, but I later came to the realization of what I needed to do to create a diverse classroom. This is because it had been apparent in mine and others' schooling that some teachers did not celebrate the diversity in the classroom. The diversity not being celebrated could be as little as not picking the person that had their hand up first because of their race. This shows the extent of heterogeneity the teacher showed. Therefore, teachers' beliefs, pedagogies, and curriculum should benefit each student's differences. It is important to state that the children most at risk of educational alienation, failure, or withdrawal in the second decade of the 21st century are, for the most part, the same children who were most at risk 50 and 100 years ago. This shows that the curriculum has not changed for decades and to this day has discriminated upon those out of social norms. As a future educator, it is important to embrace the differences that each student has and not conform to traditional teaching. Instead, it is important to challenge the mythical norms as an educator and not stick to the never-changing curriculum. Transformative teaching can be explained as the freedom of learning and not standardizing mythical norms. Mythical norms in today's society is what is holding students back as they believe that they have a role that they need to represent. Mahatma Gandhi expresses the freedom that we should have as he states that if it is to come, must come today. It will have no taste left in it today. You who have power to help, do not exercise it. If you can exercise it, what seems impossible today will under the glow of freedom. This means that as future educators, we all have the power to give students the freedom and social change for them to become the self-sufficient person they need to become in order to shine. This is vital for a student to develop as it shows their independency they have, which in future is important to have. However, without celebrating each other's differences, freedom will not be shown as discriminating on a person will hold them back and make them feel inferior. Palmer states that a spiritual crisis arises when we find ourselves in the grip of something larger than society's expectations or the ego's needs. This is why teachers should not conform to just teach math or just teach English and instead create relationships with students and go beyond just teaching the curriculum. If one does not do this, you create an unattainable role in society as it creates pressure to both the student and teacher. The teacher will feel pressure to teach just the curriculum and the student to learn it. It is important to leave no student behind and make sure you give your time to every student. Although this may seem as a hard task to fulfill and may take time, it is not as hard as you think. Nell Nodding states that I do not need to establish a deep, lasting personal relationship with every student. What I must do is be totally and non-selectively present to the student as he addresses me. The time interval may be short-lived, but the encounter is total. The pedagogy practice is important to remember as it shows that teachers must not be biased to students, but instead show equity to them. Equity can be defined by the two major types of social justice, which are equal justice and distributive or proportional justice. This is important to include in the teaching, as if you see signs of one person doing really well at their work and another not, you will go to the student that isn't doing well. This shows equality as you are improving the student's knowledge by helping them and not the other student. These philosophies all interconnect in one way or another. When Gandhi talks about freedom, it relates to Palmer's theory of the pressure that society holds. This is because society's mythical norms and stereotypes is what is holding students back and not allowing them to be free. These two philosophies then relate to Noddings as he states pedagogy practices that allow students to have freedom in the classroom. As a future teacher, it is important to learn the meaning of heterogeneity. The main factor to this is because as a teacher, you need to show how diverse you are in both curriculum and how you portray people. A teacher should also highlight the existence of mythical norms and stereotypes. It is important to highlight that norms are not normal and can shape our opinions and actions, as norms will pressure students into fulfilling unnecessary roles. As a future educator, I will definitely implement these strategies and pedagogy practices into my teaching and learning. Keeping this in mind, I strive for a diverse, safe, and fun classroom that includes every student and making sure I create relationships with all. Therefore, this shows my educational philosophy that will further make a safe and fun classroom environment. Thank you.